In this edition of Southern Newsweek, a Dunedin City Council staff member is remembered for 30 years of service. The perfect woman is found in Wanaka driving a jet boat. And a new way of replacing heart valves reduces length of hospital stays. Kia ora, I'm Melissa Barton. Dunedin woman Pam Jordan was being remembered as a complete professional by City Councillors at a special service this week. She was a member of Dunedin City Council staff for more than 30 years, but lost a battle with cancer last weekend.
Tears and tributes have flowed for long-serving Dunedin City Council Electoral Return Officer Pam Jordan, who passed away at the weekend. Mayor Dave Cull led tributes to her from elected members.
She started with the council in January 1982. So we're talking 36 years of service.
The Mayor says Pam Jordan's long service was matched by her dedication to making sure everything was correct. Councillors took turns acknowledging her dedication to the job, sharing anecdotes and a poem.
When I was diagnosed with cancer, she was one of the first people to come and say, I know what it's like, because she'd suffered from it previously.
You were always welcoming, never judging, always patient, never a harsh word.
She's kind, honest, discreet, knowledgeable.
And on a personal note, especially with her stories from her travels overseas in Eurasia, topic travel, etc., she will be sorely missed. She was someone who I always enjoyed speaking with.
When the ship was going down, she was always there to help you. And it had been a particularly tough day for me at council. There were some comments being made and things, and I'd been called into Sandy's office. Pam sort of came over to the table as I was putting my plate and just said a couple of few words, and at that moment I knew everything was going to be all right.
Before Councillor Marie Laufiso shed a waitu to Pam Jordan's spirit, which moved many in the room, including some of Pam's close colleagues. She always shied away from media attention, but Pam Jordan took time to share her electoral expertise with Channel 39 viewers in 2016. Her institutional knowledge will be greatly missed. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The annual cardboard boat race in Wanaka was once again a real hit with the town's youngsters. The boat race is a popular annual fixture organised by Kahu Youth. This year it attracted dozens of entries and a crowd of several hundred to Lake Wanaka. Last year's winners of the Titanic Award were back for another go in the Unicorn cruise boat. 3 of the crew, aged between 9 and 10, made the craft with no adult help. They fared better than some of their competitors. Staying with Wanaka, and it's not the ironing and it's not the jet boat driving, it's usually the public speaking which causes competitors in The Perfect Woman the most angst. This year's no exception as competitors lined up under sunny Wanaka skies last weekend for the annual competition.
Perfect Woman founder Stu Burt has created many of the competition's challenges over the years, from skinning possums to wielding a chainsaw. As always, the 2-day event also involves competitors testing their skills behind the wheel of a jet boat.
So they've got to go up, round a buoy, down, round that buoy, then on further down to read something on a box written on the side of the river. Yeah. And as soon as they can read it, they swing around and they come back up here as fast as they can.
The Perfect Woman competition began in Wanaka in 2002 and has run almost every year since. The event raises money for the Canlive Charitable Trust, which helps educate cancer patients and their supporters on what they can do to help themselves while living with cancer. Among this year's contestants is Luggett local Sonia Adams, just one of a strong field of entrants.
The girls are a fantastic bunch. They all loved the helicopter flying, of course, and then car racing around the track here was, great fun, and some of them blitzed it. The backing of the trailer so far today was some of them struggled, and then 5 of them were really quick in under a minute. Yeah.
The neighbouring township of Luggett turned on perfect weather for this year's competition, with the hot, calm conditions making the jet boating test on the Clutha River a breeze.
No, everything's sort of under control and people seem to enjoy themselves.
And for the record, home girl Sonia Adams was crowned the winner for 2018. In Wanaka, the South Today.
A new procedure being offered at Dunedin Hospital is drastically reducing the length of hospital stays and recovery times. Heart valve replacements can be major operations, but the new procedure can be done via catheter under local anaesthetic, much to the delight of at least one Dunedin resident.
If heart valve replacement patient Ed Fraser had had his operation a year ago, he'd probably still be in hospital. But thanks to a new procedure being offered at Dunedin Hospital, the 79-year-old halfway bushman was at home in a matter of days and is already back out in his beloved garden.
It's because I've had open heart surgery. I was probably looking with my kidney problems and everything I got. I've probably been in there for 5 to 6 weeks, so, you know, it was great.
He's one of more than 40 Otago patients who meet the criteria for their operations to be done via catheter. He's also the first patient to have a procedure done with a local anaesthetic. Valve replacements can be major operations requiring open heart surgery and lengthy recovery times. Doctors say the procedure quickly found worldwide favour since it was first performed.
This technique has been around since 2002. It's been improving with time, and it's now the standard of care really for octogenarians who are deemed intermediate or high surgical risk.
Patients are seen in a lab rather than an operating theatre. They don't go into intensive care and are home within days.
In a nutshell, the valve is deployed after pacing the heart at a fast heart rate. A balloon is inflated, deploying the valve and pushing the old valve out of the way. The balloon is then removed, and then the valve replacement has occurred, and the valve stays in place through its strength within the stent.
For patients like Mr Fraser, the payoff far outweighs the percentage chance of the operation failing.
And it's a credit to them, the way they work, and they're a team that, you know, or I can't say enough for them. They're absolutely fantastic.
Around 20 valve operations are set to be performed each year, with that number likely to increase over time. In Dunedin, the South today.
A simulator on display at Queenstown Airport recently has helped shake up the way people think about preparing for an earthquake. Staff and visitors tested out the equipment in the airport's forecourt for one day only, as part of Airport Safety Week.
It may look like a bit of fun, but this earthquake simulator outside Queenstown Airport last week, providing a stark reminder how serious a real earthquake can be.
It gives them that real sense of being unbalanced, and it's a great opportunity to practice the right thing to do in an earthquake, which is to drop, cover and hold.
The simulator's a trailer on wheels which shakes underfoot when plugged into a power source. It gives users the chance to experience what a magnitude 5 or 6 quake feels like.
People who haven't actually felt one before really have no idea how extreme the sensation can be, and you know, the Christchurch experience shows us, and Kaikoura as well, that it in many cases will be too strong to stay on your feet safely. So people don't believe that until they experience it or they see it for themselves.
She says a severe earthquake is expected to impact the South Island, and Queenstown's large visitor population will only add to the pressures of dealing with one. Paul says the first thing to do is actually acknowledge New Zealand is a country that's prone to earthquakes.
We live on the Ring of Fire, just like Indonesia and Japan and those other places that have had, you know, fairly large earthquakes recently. And, you know, the Kaikoura earthquake, November 2016, the Christchurch sequence in 2010 and 11, they show us that this does happen in New Zealand on a fairly regular basis.
A new upgraded simulator is also in the pipeline, as this one's been used in Southland for several years. In Queenstown, the South today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek. Ribbons are tied to the gates of a Dunedin cathedral in memory of sexual abuse. And a Waitati couple make an eco-friendly house on a shoestring budget. Welcome back. People tied ribbons from around the world to the gates of St Joseph's Cathedral in Dunedin during a gathering last week in remembrance of sexual abuse. About 30 survivors, their supporters and representatives from the Catholic Diocese of Dunedin, including Dunedin Bishop Michael Dooley, were on hand for the event.
Tying ribbons of remembrance on the gates of Dunedin's St Joseph's Cathedral in a symbolic gesture for victims of sexual abuse at the hands of the Catholic Church. Spokesperson Dr Murray Heasley says today's event is significant.
We're very encouraged by what's happened here today. We think that this tying of ribbons onto the wrought iron gates of this 132-year-old church was one very positive step.
The ribbons have come from survivors and supporters as far away as Australia and the United Kingdom. Around 30 survivors and supporters also observed a minute's silence to remember victims of clerical abuse who had taken their own lives.
It's an important step of acknowledging what's happened. So.
Dunedin Bishop Michael Dooley addressed the crowd, again calling for the Catholic Church to be included in the government's upcoming Royal Commission on Historic Abuse.
You know, from my perspective, I'm really asking them to include faith-based institutions in the Royal Commission, otherwise so many people will get left out.
That sentiment echoed by survivors.
At the moment it's a Clayton's Royal Commission, and it's going to include the majority of children in New Zealand sexually abused by adults who just happen to be clergy, religious and laity within the Catholic Church.
Although the draft terms of reference exclude most faith-based settings and many victims of clerical sexual abuse, the government is still mulling the scope of the inquiry. In the meantime, these ribbons on a church gate, acting as a not-so-subtle reminder, victims' voices are finally starting to be heard. In Dunedin, the South Today.
There were memories and mischief in spades last weekend as past and present Queenstowners came together to remember their primary school days, 4 decades on. They came from around New Zealand and Australia to reminisce, 45 years after starting at Queenstown Primary School in 1973.
Remembering the days of the old school yard, former pupils of Queenstown Primary reminiscing on their time at the school 45 years after starting.
I just loved school here.
Yeah,
I just loved it.
It was fun. School was fun.
Yeah, school was fun. School was fun, and we'd have to go before morning tea. We'd have to run around the field.
Yeah, and up through the
through there.
Forest.
We used to do our running races
every morning.
Yeah.
The cohort marked 2 big milestones during their school years. They were the first class to start at the new primary school site on Robbins Road, and they were also the first class to start at Wakatipu High School. Organiser Sally Jones says it's great to finally get everyone back together.
We've all caught up and we've all got different memories of what it was like to live in Queenstown. So it's really good to have a full view of what it was like because we all remember different things.
Classmate Anita Lloyd certainly remembers things seeming a lot bigger when she was a young pupil.
The memory, one of the memories, just as I say, I've just been down and looked at those logs, so I'll just show you the picture.
Yeah.
That, you know, I thought, well, they were. I'm telling you, they weren't like that. They were high. Now they're only like. And I'm busy saying to Brian, oh, you couldn't jump on them. He's standing on going, what do you mean you couldn't jump on them?
They all agree they were a pretty well-behaved bunch, perhaps more so than they are now.
What have you guys been up to over the weekend?
Drinking.
In Queenstown, the South Today.
Living in an eco-friendly house doesn't necessarily mean spending thousands on double glazing and mechanical ventilation systems, as one Dunedin couple have proven. In Melvin and Helga de Treit's Waitati home exemplifies how to be eco-friendly on a frugal budget.
A piece of paradise with a low environmental footprint. This Waitati home was quite run down when Ian Melvin met his future wife in 1984.
Because Ian didn't really have that much money, he could do with very little a lot. He was a gardener and the garden already looked really, really nice. And with really nice things inside, nothing expensive, but really nicely decorated. And he was, like how he is now, a talker. So I thought, oh, he talked a lot, but he had a lovely dog and a really beautiful decorated house. So I thought, maybe he's okay.
One of their first renovation projects was to create a new wash house.
My plan for the wash house was sort of a roof with an old copper hot water heater and a tub, and she looked at it and went, no, that's not what I call a wash house.
Further renovations included improving the house's heating.
Using, blending in with the environment and efficiency, and, one of the things is, the original coal range that we converted to a wood burner, and we use that to cook on and to heat our water and to heat the house, and it's surrounded in a concrete box, which is also a heat sink.
The thermal mass of the concrete around the 2 fireplaces absorbs heat and slowly releases it after the fire is out. Grey water irrigates the garden and even human waste is recycled.
Our toilet is a dry toilet using sawdust. It's an outside toilet where we take the toilet waste and compost it in a 3-stage system with our garden waste and our kitchen waste.
The couple say they are just two of many alternative lifestylers in the Waitati area. In Dunedin for the South Today.
The angle grinders are out, the dust is flying, and large stones are being turned into unique sculptures in Ashburton. 10 sculptors are taking part in the Ashburton Stone Sculpture Symposium, hammering and chiselling away on the projects in the town's scenic domain.
Another block bites the dust. 6 artists have started projects with limestone and bluestone as part of the Ashburton Stone Sculpture Symposium. Event coordinator Brent Holly says the stone has been sourced locally.
Carving stone, so we've got Mount Somers limestone from up in the old cottage quarry. We've got Timaru bluestone, which is quite often used as pavers, but it's an amazing stone to sculpt.
The third biennial symposium has attracted 6 returning artists, as well as a few newcomers and one who's come from Australia.
We've got 11 sculptors, including myself, from all over New Zealand, and we've also got one young South Korean lady who's based in Australia now come over for it.
A number of artists draw rough designs on the stones to guide their work, and all are working in a fenced area of the domain. Some artists will complete one work over the course of the symposium, but most will tackle 2. Holly says the public can walk through the work site from a viewing area, and the finished works will be on display at another location once the symposium finishes next week.
At the end of 2 weeks, which is on the 2nd of November, we're going to move them all to the west street of the domain, and there's going to be an exhibition that's going to run for a week.
Sculptors are set to attend an evening of artist talks at the Ashburton Art Gallery next week for those keen to learn more about the artistic process. In Ashburton, the South Today.
Oamaru cheesemaker Whitestone Cheese is joining forces with Otago Polytechnic to create an online training academy for hospitality workers and cheese enthusiasts. The Whitestone Cheese Academy is a 3-module course that will go online early next year.
If you're looking for culinary credentials to add to your CV, then Rata Restaurant in Queenstown's a pretty good place to start. That's exactly where Whitestone Cheese Chief Executive Simon Berry and Otago Polytechnic cookery lecturer Chris Smith were this week. They're filming a video for a new online training academy for hospitality workers and cheese enthusiasts.
And it's an online training academy that upskills understanding of cheese, both in hospitality and into consumers.
The Afanua Academy is a 3-module course that's set to go online early next year. It'll incorporate the Polytechnic's EduBits program, a way for people to upskill or gain credentials for knowledge they've already acquired. In the case of cheese, EduBits will show an employer someone's acquired Afanua skills and knowledge.
So whether you're a chef in industry who already knows their thing or two about cheese, you can come in, do our EduBit, get the credential, or you can have one of our micro learning experiences, which is what the Afanua Academy is really about.
Although Afanua refers to a person who oversees the maturing of cheese, the course covers a broader scope of knowledge, including the history of cheese and wine matching. Rata co-owner and celebrity chef Josh Emmett was on hand to show prospective students how to build the ultimate cheese platter.
Yeah, the video that we're shooting today is building and combining a broad flavour profiles of 4 cheeses and presenting them in a nice platter setting.
The Academy is set to be formally launched at the Great Kiwi Home and Living Show in Dunedin next month. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, passengers from 2 cruise ships filled Dunedin to the gunnels, and a new distillery opens its doors in Reefton. Welcome back. Dunedin was bursting at the seams recently as the city welcomed tourists from 2 large cruise ships on the same day. Visitors from the Golden Princess and Majestic Princess made anchor and quickly filled the city as they took to the streets.
2 cruise ships sailed into Dunedin today, bringing an influx of sightseers into the city. It's set to become a common sight over the next few months, as the city hosts double cruise ship days more than 20 times this season, and 3 ships are due to arrive on one day in December.
Apparently it's crazy. I mean, I think we got something like 2,500 people on our ship. We're on the Golden Princess, and I think there's 1,000 crew. And I think the Majestic, somebody told me they got like 4,000 people. So suddenly you've got a potential here about 8,000 people that have suddenly come into this part of town, you know. And I don't know how you guys cope with it, but you know, everything seems to be going smoothly.
I was a bit worried about that when I saw the other one in, but it hasn't really affected us. There seems to be plenty of space for things around, so it'll be fine, I'm sure.
While the city centre is bustling with visitors, it hasn't caused too much of a disturbance for tourists exploring the markets and the Octagon.
It's been pretty busy, yes, yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. It makes for the atmosphere, doesn't it?
The weather has been the star of the day, with Dunedin putting on a cloudless morning for the arriving guests, the first they'd seen in a while.
Well, the weather is absolutely great for us. First time we've seen sunshine for a little while, so no, thoroughly enjoying it.
Dunedin is set to welcome many more tourists in the coming months, with the cruise ship season set to run till mid-April. In Dunedin, the South Today.
She might only be 8 years old, but you definitely don't want to mess with Shyla Mulholland. The primary school has recently returned from Auckland after claiming the top spot in her division at the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament.
8-year-old Shyla Mulholland demonstrating just why she's won 2 Jiu-Jitsu gold medals in the past few months. She's undefeated in national competitions, her latest prize coming at the recent Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament in Auckland.
A lot of hard work, pretty much all effort that I wanted to do that I put in it was worth the gold medal.
She's been training at Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in Frankton for about 2 years. As well as her normal training sessions, she also does extra classes in the weekend with her training partner, 11-year-old Sam Vining.
So I train 3 times a week, but then I train another one day on Sunday.
The club has a big tournament coming up with the King of the South set to be held at the Queenstown Event Centre next month. Just one more rung on the ladder for the ambitious young fighter.
If I win that, I'm going to go to California for Worlds.
That's still another year away, with the next big national tournament set down for April next year in Queenstown, the South Today.
It may have been downscaled this year, but there was still plenty of music to keep punters entertained at this year's Queenstown Jazz Fest. The main event this year was a free concert at Earnslaw Park, with a solid lineup of local talent playing tunes all afternoon on Saturday.
It's been a staple event in Queenstown for 4 decades, but this year organisers decided to downsize the annual Jazz Fest to take stock of its future. But they still wanted to put on some events this year to ensure there were opportunities for high school musicians to grow and progress. Judging by the performance of Wakatipu High School band Best Served Chilled, they can certainly tick that box. Its members were all smiles when they got off stage after performing for a big and appreciative crowd.
Yeah, this year's been really good. It's been a great stage and a great venue, and it's really nice to be in a good crowd, so it's a really good year to play.
Yeah, I've had a good audience as well, all cheering and dancing.
Jazz Fest Trust member Luke Baldock says it's looking like the event will come under the umbrella of a new, larger arts and music festival, but he wasn't getting ahead of himself.
It's a beautiful day and the sun's shining and there's lots of people around town, and we've just had the high school band perform and it was fantastic to have them on the stage, and we've got the local jazz collective from Queenstown performing now, so yeah, the day's going fantastic.
He says it's certainly early days, but the Trust will likely be talking to a range of stakeholders to see what they can do in the future to create something unique in Queenstown, the South Today.
The west coast town of Reefton has acquired a new tourist attraction in the form of a gin distillery. The Reefton Distilling Company features a tasting bar, retail store and guided tours of the working distillery, which has been set up in one of the town's historic buildings.
Finally open after a lot of hard work, the Reefton Distilling Company opening their doors to the public. Owner Patsy Bass says the distillery will provide new employment opportunities for the historic West Coast town.
It's fantastic. We've been waiting for this day for quite a while now. It was all about creating jobs for locals, for creating a tourist attraction in the town, and we couldn't be more thrilled with the result this morning.
And they say the local community has got behind a new distillery.
The support while we're building up was just amazing. You know, the local community has been really, really supportive of us, and also people in the industry as well. You know, giving us a hand when we've had questions to ask. They've been really, really supportive.
The first batches of gin have been produced in this small still, but there are plans for creating whisky on a larger scale.
Behind us here we've got our big copper pot still, George. His main focus will be producing our new make spirit for our whiskies and also other spirits down the track, but primarily our whiskies. So at the moment we're not able to use George just because the building size is a little bit too small.
But first they're planning to add liqueurs in the mix and establish themselves on the tourist trail.
We've currently got our premium gin out. The ultra premium gin is just waiting to be bottled. That'll happen next week. And then we get on to our liqueurs. So getting that underway, getting the tours bedded in, and just waiting for the tourist season to really kick off here.
The Reefton Distilling Company's gins are infused with flavours gathered from local trees such as Horapito, Rimu and Douglas fir. In Reefton for the South Today.
That's all for Southern Newsweek. Get online and check us out on Facebook or keep up with Southern News via our website channel39.co.nz. I'm Melissa Barton, thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.